Hello, this is the voice of Stewart Pearce, and welcome to Deep Dialogues, a series of vital conversations that I have with global soul stewards from all over the world who provide us with an understanding of how we can create a new hierarchy of values that is absolutely significant at this unique time of becoming. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. Firstly, hello to the amazing Janet. Yes, notice Janet. We were just joking about Karen. For those of you who don't know the joke, I'll explain later. So amazing, amazing privilege to have the wonderful Janet Treloar back. And also hello to all of you wonderful people. If I just scroll through the chat list, we have darling Instagata, Erica, Marjorie, Robin's back. Good. Hello, Robin. All the wonderful people. I mean, there is stunning people who have been chomping at the bit and leaving wonderful messages. Dorina, Katie. Oh, Katie, you're back. Hello, Katie Van Horn from Ojai. Anyway, Vanessa, all you wonderful warrior girl. Wow, there's a warrior girl 113. It feels as though that must be a secret agent. And Monica. Okay, so wonderful people coming in. Stephen, it's lovely to see you. So Janet is here again because we had such an extraordinary conversation, dialogue in the last occasion, which is now probably about 6 weeks ago. And Janet very, very kindly, because there were so many people who emailed me or messaged me through social media saying, please, can we have Janet back on? And please, can we have Janet and Zach? Because Janet and I were we were wondering the first time that we had a dialogue whether Zach should come through, not should come through, but whether it was a possibility. And it was obviously such an amazing conversation that Zach then really spoke to you, didn't he? Okay, he's coming through. He's coming through. And hello, Hazel. I know you're great friend, supporter, and conduit for this wonderful, wonderful person that I have sitting opposite me. And Sophia and Montgomery. Ooh, wonderful names. Quilly and Ryan. I think we know Ryan, my wonderful tech manager, and Dana. Anyway, so I won't keep referring to the chat box. Not now. Maybe there'll be questions later. So, Janet, it's an amazing privilege to have you here right at the end of this extraordinary season of female global soul stewards. And you have a very specific alignment with spirit because of the nature of your mediumship and how your channel is so clear and always brings through immense wisdom and integrity, so that we actually feel the whole vibration of our field shifting as you reveal Zach. And in fact, I can feel the presence of Zach here already, and the whole of my field is beginning to expand. There's a level of tickling crystalline energy here, which I can even hear the static as it changes. So we're going to have great fun. But before we go into the breadth of our exchange this evening or this afternoon, if you're on other areas of the world, perhaps it's important for those people who are new to this evening or to Deep Dialogue, if you could possibly tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about Zach. But if I may just formally introduce you through your bio. So Janet, everybody, is an energy channel and mentor teaching primarily energy management. Janet was introduced to the supernatural world as a child, and she conversed openly with spirit. At the age of 12 years of age, she undertook training in energy management. In other words, she was fortunately drawn by spirit to a remarkable mentor who immediately understood what she was moving through. Later, she also developed in mediumship, trance channeling, spiritual healing, and spirit release before becoming a regression therapist. However, Janet is also an out-of-body channel, especially understanding the importance of energy mastery and well-being. And she focuses her work into the sharing of wisdom through the humor and wonderment of Zach, a non-corporeal being whom she has channeled for some time. Janet regularly offers workshops sharing her rare knowledge and skill concerning spiritual development and, of course, practitioner mentoring. So, how did you meet Zach?
Good question. So actually, Hazel, the lovely, lovely Hazel, who's on here tonight and who I share the patron site with, she was the very first person to talk to him. As a channel, I really pushed it away, really didn't like it, trained in it years ago, trained in it with an idea of if I could discipline it, I wouldn't have to do it. It sounds a bit strange. We went through all the training, did it all in secret. Had this ability, but to be fair, and I think I might have even said this last time, I hadn't healed an awful lot of stuff. And so it was quite tricky, I found to do. I found it quite hard to let go. Back then, we only really were being taught out of body channeling. And I had a lot of fear, a lot of shame, lots of different things. But actually, when I was training as a regression therapist, and Hazel was one of my main tutors there, and in the evenings, we were down in Gaunt's house. Anyone that knows Gaunt's house in England, down in Wimborne, it's this crazy mad old stately home that's used for these wonderful personal development courses. And so we'd take over this whole house, and in the evenings there wasn't really a lot to do, and Hazel is just such a lovely, lively energy, so she'd find these different things for us to do. And she has a real passion for channeling herself through her dad and other people. And so she had this one particular evening where she was just like, let's get a few of you together, let's ask some interesting questions at the moment, see what comes through. And so we did it, and I found that just because I'd healed, I suppose, a lot of stuff, it was just really easy. It wasn't easy for my body. You should have seen me. It was hilarious. I was lying on the floor and I had this one leg doing this and an arm doing this, tucked up under a blanket. But we did this quite a lot, and I was there quite a lot doing the training and things. And then one particular day when it seemed like my shoulder was actually going to almost dislocate from all the jerking, Hazel was asking the questions, and she just very innocently said, this is putting a lot of pressure on Janet's body, because it seemed to be an energy that never had a human form. And she just said, could a spokesperson come through? And this lovely, gentle energy of Zach. We didn't know his name was Zach at the time. When we asked a name, he said a guide for the future. Doesn't that give a lot away now, considering that was in about 2010? And so Hazel and the others nicknamed him Super Dude. And they would talk to him regularly, and he asked what a super dude was, and he thought about the name. And this, I think, struck me later on. It's quite interesting that he wears the personality of Zachariah. It's a real life of his, but I think it's a bit like you go into the wardrobe and in the morning and thinking, what do I fancy wearing today? But he stuck with it. He said it's his favorite life on earth. So it might not be the most ascended life. That we know of is Dwalkul, who people know of as the Ascended Master, the Tibetan, he's also known as. That's why I've got the green behind me tonight. He is the emerald green. I like to have something around me that makes me think of him. But the personality he chooses to bring the wisdom through is that of Zachariah, this lovely, compassionate, wise being who loves to have fun and have a joke as well. He says the laughter's the way into the soul. So, and I know you've met him and a lot of people on here, and seeing Pam now here, that we did a talk the other day. So it's lovely. He really gets himself out there now. And he's, so that's when I first started channeling him. And I've had a working partnership with him ever since.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, for those of you who are unfamiliar to this level of mediumship, you can hear that Janet is actually describing that this is a full sensory experience where every cell of her body becomes a refracting filter for the light of the divine presence that comes through. It's not just, we often think it's just a head thing. No, as you were saying, she was just saying that the whole of her body was actually responding to the initial vibration of the membrane of this extraordinary ascended vibration coming through, and then through the filter, as you've said, of Zachariah. When I first met the angels, I remember a light literally went all the way through my body, right through my heart. And the pain actually was searing in my heart. I thought, wow, am I having a heart attack? That usual drama that goes on in our consciousness, in the egoic part of our consciousness. And I was quickly assured by the fact that the light, the orb of Raphael, came down and also placed a key in my heart, which automatically healed the pain that went through me. But it overcomes one completely. And of course, what's wonderful about the whole of your training is that you've had not just some extraordinary experiences where you're well looked after by the spirit world, but also by these extraordinary curators of spirit, I mean, in human form, who have, in the early days particularly, showed you how you could move through specific energy management processes so that you always knew that the level of duality that was existing between Janet and also Zach was something that you could stabilize and manage. And, I feel that that's a very important thing to say to many people who are watching in, who perhaps are unfamiliar with mediumship, that this is a remarkable skill. And in a moment when Janet prepares, it's okay for me to just give a gentle, very, 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 very somnolent introduction to the nature of where I believe I've met Janet before. And this was many, many thousands of years ago in ancient Greece, when she was a high priestess channel there as well.
Nice.
Is that okay?
Yes, of course. It'd be nice after doing regression and keep going back to scullery maids and lives of soldiers. I'd quite like to hear about my history from way back then, because I know it's there. I just haven't seen it that much.
Yeah, that was just what you've referred to, though, that was a very, very difficult time, wasn't it? And of course, it was the beginning, really at the beginning of the 20th century, when the Great War, as it was called, the first Great World War took place, the 1418 War. And I can, it's something that I'm very familiar with as well, so I can pick up the trace elements around you. But yes, no, this goes all the way back to many, many, many thousands of years before, in the Eleusinian mystery schools, which was actually a mystery school that was dedicated purely to the arousal of the divine feminine in all the possible attributions of what that was all about. And the mediums were all ladies. They were all these extraordinary women. Whereas in the other temple complexes throughout Greece, they were mostly male, because again, the patriarchal witness was very, very strong. Apart from the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, and that was where Pythia reigned. I believe that Pythia is reincarnated as I've forgotten her name, Esther Hicks.
Ah, yeah, with good old Abraham.
So with Abraham, exactly. And one of the questions that I was going to ask you, or maybe I should ask Zach, is he one conduit, or are there many who filter into Zach? Is that?
It'd be interesting. I'd definitely ask him, because my feeling is he likes to project in a way that is a personality, because that's how we're used to it, how we're used to communicating with people. But I know the wisdom, it's almost like he's the face, a bit like the face of a company. But the wisdom comes through from just so many different sources, so many different sources. But he also can act as a gatekeeper. He's done it at quite a few of our workshops, where he's actually, so I won't actually come back, I'll still be out of body, and he shifts and he lets, we had an oracle from the time of Atlantis, when we did the Atlantis extravaganza, Angelica, that came through, and everyone in the room could feel this shift of energy. So I think sometimes he brings it through, everything else that's out there, and sometimes he likes to shift to one side to let everyone feel a completely different type of energy coming through too. And that's always quite fascinating for me. So it'll be interesting to see. And he gives tidbits away Like, he just used to laugh when people asked if he was Dwalkor for about 2 years before he finally said, yes, I am. Because actually people were seeing Dwalkor, they were sensing the energy, they'd come across Dwalkor, they're like, is that him? But again, it's like his build-up, the whole Zachariah thing as well. I can see it now, the time that we're living in now, a time that isn't about being rescued or anything. He wants to talk on the level that he is like a friend, you know? And so he brings through this massive, but everyone can feel like he's like a nice grandfatherly figure, or whatever it might be, you know? Yeah, it'd be interesting what he actually says about that.
It's amazing because, you know, I'm also reminded that I think this is the 60th deep dialogue, but it's the first time on this this wonderful platform that came to me in Global Pause, you know, that that you graced us with your presence on before and now here. It's the first time that a universal being has actually come through, that we've exchanged universal wisdom, but this is the first time that a universal being has come through, because I haven't been interviewed as a dialoguer and allowed the angels to move through me, although I suppose in many ways I'm a hologram through which they're talking all the time. And of course, that's when we were initially planning this. This deep dialogue, we were talking about, well, what are we going to call it? That the universe is always looking after us. And that's the key principle, isn't it, in the way that Zach comes through to allow us to recognize the expansity of universal wisdom, and that the universe is always there, self-organizing, self-correcting, allowing us to feel the infiltration of the universe within us, and that if we can just cease being preoccupied with the deep worried concerns of the world and lean into the universe for sacred as well as physiological and sociological support, psychological support, that, you know, this is really what Zach was wanting to come through and help us with, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think to me, it feels very clever how he's built it over a period of time, that he never lets up on, when he talks about the universe, of us accepting that we are the universe too, and the universe exists inside of ourselves, and moving away from the concept that the universe is out there and I'm here. And then in exactly the same light as that, the universe is always finding solutions for our issues. So whether that is manifest from something far outside of ourselves in the universe, or our helper guides, or our soul, or it's purely exactly what we're doing these days. We know our thoughts create our reality, but for him, it's the thoughts that we put through the heart that actually create the futures and looks after us in the way that is going to be most supportive. You know, the universe is always reacting to our thoughts anyway, but once they're actually placed through the heart and we're in that, then yes, it absolutely does look after you. And then it's that little twinkle in his eye where he says, and you're the universe. He sort of almost wants people to give themselves a pat on the back and take credit when they notice synchronicities, or they notice signs, or they actually heed something that they've got from their heart, and rather than plow ahead with something that they thought they wanted to do but heed the advice of it, he wants people to not so much go, thank you guides, even though of course it's still lovely to have gratitude, but it's also to say thank you that I've been part of all of that. I'm a part of it as well. And it's one of his ways, I feel, that I think what he's working towards is the empowerment, because this new paradigm that we're in is only going to be as golden and wonderful if it can be, if everyone is truly, I feel, empowered within themselves to know what they're actually doing in this universe, know that they are part of the creation of everything that's actually going on, and not just blowing in the breeze.
Yeah, and as I hear you, I'm reminded of what I've just said, and maybe there's a point of clarity when I said this is the first time a universal being has come through, meaning a universal non-corporeal being, because we're all in flesh, and as you've just been hearing from Janet, we are all universal beings. We just need to really grow up to the fact that we're stars wrapped in skin. So we can ask Zach about the other galactic species that are really interested in communicating with us at this time, and the specific nations that are here. Because I know, I mean, just for example, over the last 3 weeks, I've seen in soul readings probably about 35 or 40 star seeds. And you know, they're people who, human beings who are finding it really challenging because they're so empathically sensitive in the world. And what I've been able to do is to rearrange their chakra system so that they can accommodate the nature of what it is to be human, and begin to, you know, really identify the trauma that has arisen through 3D. And therefore, as a result of that, the alignment through the pranic cord has allowed them to see where the intergalactic nations from where they're from are all about, and therefore they've learned how to re-identify themselves. It's very interesting. Anyway, that's, you know, going on a segue slightly. So, well, should we ask Zach if he'd like to come and speak?
Absolutely. I will, again, for anyone that hasn't seen me, which is likely, a lot of people here won't have seen me channel before, just to say there'll be a bit of a shift that happens. I move my consciousness out to, I have an energetic meadow that I will be in. And so when he's here, it's completely him. I'm just a vessel for him to use. So different voice, different mannerisms. And, but yeah, I can feel it won't take long. He's proper on my shoulder. So I will leave you with the lovely Zach.
Bless you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you prepare and waiting for the arrival of Zach, if you could just possibly align your bodies and breathe really deeply, because we're about to be in the presence of a universal master, an intergalactic being who is of profound wisdom.
Welcome, my dears. Welcome, all those bright starlight out there. Is it not, my dear?
Zach, it's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for coming through. I've been impatient waiting for this wonderful meeting, and I thank Janet for being the vessel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Namaste, dear Zach.
What do they say in modern times? Pleasure all mine. Yes. And as you know, from when last we spoke, lots to things to converse upon, to enlighten, and for fun as well. Yes, good. Please do continue. What would you like us to do?
Well, Zach, you know, we're at this extraordinary time as we move towards the end of 2021 on planet Earth. And of course, we all know that we're living through a time that needs to be adhered to in our presentness, that we need to stay within this time and focus on all of the major developments that we need to achieve physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But we also have the seeding in our consciousness that when we move into 2022, that a very unique doorway or portal is going to happen. Is this accurate? Do you have any commentary on the nature of the 10 years between 2022 and 2032 and the golden age?
You could see everything that has been happening so far as preparation. For you, my dear, the rehearsal, the dry run is not. As we embark upon this year to come, the 2022, what we start to see happen is the manifestation of the principles of kindness, but also the principles of collaboration and the principles of change. Now, why am I calling these principles? People have been in such a flux. So many things happening upon the earth that were either unexpected for many
or have just thrown them off their center. That it has taken quite a lot of time for people, like treading water, before they actually look into the horizon and see that there's land and they start moving towards it. Now, some people are doing this sooner than others, and all of these things are fine. But what was expected was in this particular time, in this particular, and particularly around your springtime here, and where are we? Northern Hemisphere. Yes, springtime of the next year. There are, as you would call them, portals activated. The way that we feel them is acceleration of frequency and energy systems that allow such things that maybe have not come to pass for a very long time or at all upon your planet to start to manifest, to start to actually come into the news. So when people are saying, this is what I've been hoping for, suddenly it starts to happen. But there is a, shall we say, extra help going on for this. And if you think, oh, I don't know, I'm not ready for that. Lots of portals to come, lots of energy. Yes, I understand. Have others here talking to as well. Think of a portal, not so much something that you are zooming through. It is more like a springboard. What the portal does is it then catapults you into a sphere that perhaps you have been longing for. It catapults you into a place of deeper harmony with the universe. Sound good, no?
Absolutely amazing, amazing. So the keys that we're all moving through at the moment is reminding ourselves of co-creativity, of harmony consciousness, of collaboration, as you were saying. And then automatically the light technology within our bodies begins to move us into a very different sphere, which then prepares the portal to allow us to springboard forth. This is very exciting, Zach. Are you pleased with us?
You know what? I'm probably more pleased than some of the others that sit at the same level as I. And you know why? I'm a cheerleader for humanity. I really enjoy my life's coming to Earth, even though for now I think I take a step back. Lots of hurly-burly going on. But at the same time, humans have the great capacity to dust themselves up, pick themselves up, and carry on. There are galactics all over the place who have all sorts of technologies who do this, but Earth beings, those that have had many incarnations of the Earth, do this part best. They really understand it is coming from living on a planet of polarities, of always handling so much up and down, and because of this, what I see every day, because I do look in your windows, are people who, even when they are very, very down, there's a spark inside of them. And even if you are listening now and you think, no, my spark has been put out, I tell you, my dears, it is there. It is like embers that are carried. Long ago, when people would have put out a fire, nomadic people, and very reverently, they would have wrapped up the embers and be passed on from member to member so that it could be lit again in the new place, even however cold, even however wet it happened. And this is the same inside of you. Inside of you keeps the embers burning for when you are ready to set that light again. It is ever ready to do so. So yes, I'm pleased overall with humanity.
This is wonderful information. Thank you so much. I mean, it really is cherishing and revitalizes us, because the immense vibration that you bring through allows us to really go to the core of the principle or the precept that you're sharing with us. Would you agree, or would you inform us otherwise, to the fact that if we can center ourselves in our heart rather than in the head, we will discover that wonderful spark, that ignition that you were talking about? Is that so?
I more than agree. It is essential. Absolutely essential. Those who fight the draw of the power of the heart, my word, they need to have the strength of Hercules. because the heart is getting so strong.
Mm.
But if you really, 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 really fight it, of course, there is free will. But it is a bit like finding yourself in a desert with nobody else around. All your friends have gone away. You can't contact anyone. You don't really know why. It is because you're sitting on a different vibration. But if you allow, I'm always saying, those that listen to me a lot, allow change to change you. Working with the heart, it is useful to have guidance and to know what you are doing. But at the same time, allow yourself to be pulled into your heart. Your soul, your personality, everything about you has been preparing for these moments in time now. And it prepares you to pull into your heart and to allow it to guide you. When you get in there, it is a bit like you have been sitting in a tiny little room all your life, and then you open the doors to the palace. You know, it opens so much to you. So yes, my dear, not only do I agree, and I know your work. Why do you think I'm so interested in talking to you, my dear? Heart path. Heart path. Heart path.
Yes.
Perfect.
And I know you already know, but it's just so amusing that this morning I recorded a very special diamond heart meditation, bearing in mind that the diamond, as you so well know, was always thought to be the thought of an angel in ancient times. So as we open up our heart, because we have on planet Earth, we have this remarkable development in heart math that has grown over the last 20, 25 years. And we're taught that electromagnetically, our hearts have an energy field that is 5,000 times greater than the human brain. Once we begin to open heart counsel, is there anything specific that you would recommend at this time?
Get your house in order. So I'm being very practical here. What you're actually seeing, what heart math are already seeing, you know, they're not talking about it so much yet because they have to get all the data. They are mathematicians and scientists, very, very good. They're very, very sure. The heart is increasing dramatically. Now, in times, for a very, very long time, the way that your heart and your head worked and everything else, your body could be not in harmony and you could just carry on. You could feel discomfort, you could have illnesses, you could have all of these things, but you plowed on through. As the heart is gaining in resonance, in frequency, in the awareness of its communication power across the universe, it is, again, I'm going to use this word, which I do not actually use very often, essential to start looking after your bodies. If you want your heart to work to its optimum potential, you need the vehicle. Okay? You need the vehicle. You need to give it good fluids. You need to give it good foods. You need to look at it and say, what part am I not looking after? You need to exercise it, all these things. But blah, 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 blah. I know I'm going to sound like boring. Who wants to hear all of this from Zachariah? But it is true. These are some of the things. Get your house in order. And this is your physical being. Yes, people for a long time have been looking after, you know, what is going on in the noodle. What is happening with the thoughts? What is happening with the emotions? Carry on with all these things. But one of the big things about what you've been experiencing the last couple of years on Earth is everybody is suddenly becoming very insular and looking at their health. As soon as getting a little sniffle, they're saying, what is it? What is it? Which maybe they didn't before. That part of it is not such a bad thing because it makes people aware and they start to focus in on their body. And so I would say one of the biggest things, get your house in order, and your house is your body. And also the extension into the home that you live in. Look at the environment around you. Look at the toxins, all of these things. It is not about going, you know, it is very clear up top on the Himalayas, but that cannot take everybody moving there. So just look after yourselves a little bit. If you do this, you are giving the most perfect fuel as well. And then, you know, follow the guidance. Some people, it'll be enough that it's inner guidance. If it is not, look externally for guidance. If you have not known how to align with the heart before, go out and look for it. I would say hard path, but it sounds like I am doing what is word? Favoritist. But you understand my meaning.
Bless you. I mean, I'm with your joke. And for those people who are listening in, what we're talking about is that I first met Zach possibly about 2 months ago, where he very, very kindly spoke to me about a project that I'm engaged in, having written a book about the last 2 years of Diana and the way that I was honored and blessed by meeting and working with her. This book has become very successful in the United States, and I'm going to be developing a project called the Diana Heart Path. This is what Zach is referring to. And so thank you. I love the way that you bring us back to earth, Zach, because we're so used to looking on the outside of our beings. And of course, all that you've recommended is to come back into essence, to look at the essential parts of ourselves in a really pragmatic way. Look after the house. Let's do the housekeeping. Now is our time. And then once we've done the housekeeping, as it often is once a week when we clean, that we can look on the outside and start having fun.
Exactly. Then you can bask in the glory of your heart.
Right.
That has a nice ring to it, does it not?
Yes, it does.
Bask in the glory of your heart. Set an intent for that to happen, and it will. Bask in the glory of your heart. Good, easies.
I wonder, I don't want to put you on the, I don't want to put any pressure on to ask you for questions, but I wonder at some point that you may have an affirmation or a statement that we can use, just a very simple statement that we can place into our hearts that will always remind us of you, that will always remind us of the sacred holy instant that we share with you right now, but at the same time will become a springboard device for all of us, or a fountain spring to use this holy instant in memory, but also to travel as time travelers and light travelers through our future destiny. That would be wonderful. I don't want to put any pressure on you, but if that could happen, because I know we talked about this before. And so as we move into 2022 and we have housekeeped, so to speak, not that it is a verb, but that we've looked after our house and things are then in preparation. Do you see that there is a major shift that will happen for those people who have been awakened to the light over the last 30, 35 years since the harmonic convergence? Are we going to be able to step forward and be heard more by the secular establishment?
There is the old saying, is there not? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And what this means is truly, it is what you are focusing on and how that vibration mirrors back to yourself. So for some people, they will say, my, what a dramatic change has happened in the world. And there will be others that will say, I do not see it at all. Now, the reason for this is, of course, everybody is having different experiences, but also it is where they are setting their heart, and also what they feel their heart is betterment, is evolvement. So some people will be thinking, and there will be changes on this, that people have been waiting for drastic action to happen to really help the earth. This is one example. It is going to be happening more so than people got very despondent. But we are now living in that time of hope and optimism. And so I do expect to be seen. But you can imagine, if your reality is only the nature within your home, and you really do not care too much about the planet, you may not even notice this. So what I would say is, dependent on where you put your heart energy to, you are highly likely to see vast changes, but also you'll see the obstacles that people go over to make those changes. Some of them will be smooth, some of them not so much. These are the potential lines we are seeing. But at the same time, I'm always ready at a gate to give someone a leg up. The obstacle. There's help all the way around, whether it is a personal obstacles, community obstacles, or global obstacles. I think you will be seeing far more formation of groups of people that may be a little bit under the radar at the moment, or under the radar to the masses, and there will be shifts, big shifts that are happening. But again, what I would say though is, whatever you see in the world, keep your personal integrity. Keep your personal integrity, because I have said for a long time, truth is very fluid. Things that you set your heart to may change. Be open for deep beliefs that you may have had almost all of your life to be changed. Perception changes. And so it is more about that center that I know you speak of yourself, my dear. Center yourself before you look out into the world, because then, like I say, you will find the beauty. You will be the beholder of beauty. You will sense all of the positive changes, and you will be able to leap and bound over those hurdles. Good, eh?
Zach, I'm so touched by what you're saying. This is absolutely extraordinary. I'm very, very deeply moved that you have chosen to come to speak to us here in this particular social environment this evening. This is extraordinary information that you're giving us. I want to thank you on behalf of all the hundreds of people that are listening in for this immense honor that you're bringing to us by being here and giving us this extraordinary wisdom. So if I may, I'm synthesizing and crystallizing what you've shared with us, but it's so rich through the wonderful statement of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see. So rather than concerning ourselves about the shifting landscape without, if we come within into the heart's council and examine, okay, so what do we want to dream into existence? You'll be there helping us. I'm sure many of your companions, the ascended masters and mistresses, the great cosmic guardians of the angels, will be coming with you to fan the flames of our desire. So I really want you to hear how immensely honored we are that you're here, and how grateful we are for this profundity of your teaching. Wow, Zach, this is very, very special. I'm deeply moved. Now, next question. You are an inestimable force within the Intergalactic Council. And I wonder if you had any other close associations. I know you're obviously very interested in the way that we function on planet Earth, and you're immensely considerate of the weight, space, and time feature, because we're living very dense lives. And I know you understand me absolutely, because you're not within a corporeal body, and so therefore you can be ubiquitous and go into any area of the galaxy, or indeed the multiversal reality of outer space. Are there any other galactic species that you are in association with?
Would it be a little too much to say all of them? But I'm going to tell you something that I can feel into who will be watching this. And that I know you will find interesting, and I think that they will find interesting too. Your ascension, for want of a better word, this is the label that has been put on it. I think of it as the rising. The rising and the expansion within the whole cuboid of your universe. It is not just the Earth. And so people think it is just human beings that are ascending. We know that the Earth is ascending. But you know what? There are those that are ascending into more and more angelic forces, into more and more ascended masters and, as you said, mistresses. But you know what? A lot of the gods and the goddesses are changing too. And this is some of a, let us say, a little pet project of mine that I like to work with. At the moment, quite connected with both Shiva and Tara, because in their aspects, they are playing a lot of role in the chaos on Earth and the creation of the new. And they are, you could say, transforming. They are, of course, omnipotent. They are gods and goddesses. But this is a role they have not always played in such a way, where they are also understanding with deep compassion what the earth is going through. This is quite interesting. And as you probably are aware, for quite some time now, the mythological realms that have existed not only in fantasy, in legend, and as a byproduct of what is, for want of a better word, true in the universe, are really stepping out into their realm. They have ascended into their true state of being. And therefore, the mythological dimensions, which I am working with as well, as many, many others are too, are finding their feet within the consciousness of the people of Earth at this time. Yes, to help them, but also for them to go into the realms of fantasy, because much of what needs to be dreamed in has never been on Earth before, to be created on Earth. So they are also really pushing the boundaries of what people are thinking of as a true reality. You see, where all of these virtual games, technology has actually been very beneficial on some hand to allow people to step into a completely other world, see themselves as part of that world, but also allow, just as the Galactics and others are doing, allow something brand new to happen on this earth. It is quite a fascinating time if you're not living here, eh?
Well, I'm very glad that you're fascinated. I mean, I'm sure I speak for everybody that in these moments when we feel so protected by the vast oversoul of your spirit, that we also consider this to be a very unique time to be alive on planet Earth, and how honored we are that we are Earth people, Earth Homo sapien. As we begin to gestate and move in the direction that you're talking about, I love the references that you're making to the dream time and how the imagination is the gateway into spirit. Is there any particular, can we be your vessel on planet Earth? Is there any particular project other than, be the change you want to see and get your house in order? Are there any other projects that you would like us to bear in our hearts, the seat of the soul, that would assist your work?
Wander the lanes of wonder and do it often. Okay? What the lanes of wonder are is a way of actually dreaming in before you actually project fully into the universe. It is a bit like trying on a few different outfits before you decide on the one that you are going to, like a dandy, go out in. You understand? So wandering the lanes of wonder is within the spectrum of imagination. It is very useful to actually set an intent to do this, okay? This means that you can allow your mind to go crazy, to go to the extremes, to imagine possibilities that the other part of your mind, the part of mind that has been educated and all of these things, that say, no, that's crazy. Wander the lanes of wonder, because in that, what you start to do is you start to fire up particles, waves within the universe. And as you then strike on some things that you might think, wouldn't that be wonderful? Bring back boo. It starts to be created. So we can dream in, we can imagine, we can do all of the things that many people know about already. But if you are thinking, I really want to go big, I want to take off the limits, and I want to be free to imagine a whole lot of things that later on I don't think, oh, I wish I hadn't imagined that. Wander the lanes of wonder. It is like a preparation area before. But do this often. Still stay in the reality of your world. I am not necessarily advocating that people just dream, daydream, and forget about their responsibilities in their lives, because life still needs to happen for things to be done. But at the same time, spend time, just like you would spend time on yourself, looking after yourself, eating, drinking, spend time in the lanes, the wander in the lanes of wonder. Because this is something we cannot do, believe it or not. What do you think that we come to? If we could just, if you were puppets on a stage and we were pulling the strings, not only would that be incredibly boring, it would also be very disrespectful for you all. This is why everyone has free will. But we may have ideas. But I tell you, this is one of the reasons why I'm such a cheerleader for humanity. The ideas that they come up with, my dear. Well, look at your world. Look at all the strange and wonderful things that are in your world. These have all been coming up by humans. Yes, some, of course, have been intercepted. The Galactics and others have incredible technology and ideas. These are also going to be manifest. But also know the power, and the power through the heart. You ask me for the heart, what I would say, within the center of my being lays my eternity, lays my reason for being, lays my heart desire. And when we do this, boom, 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 it all like a lock clicks into place. Because we have to stop thinking about the heart in a moment. The heart is in a moment and it's in eternity at the same time. This is why heart manifestations work so much quicker and are so much more revolutionary than any mind revelations can be. Because they work in the moment, but they also know, and this is where the universe hears and puts them into action at the right point on planet Earth, that it will work. So some people, maybe quite elderly, may see something come out and think, I dreamt that in when I was 20. What is it doing now? But maybe when they were 20, there was not the technology or whatever else it might be to support that invention. So everything that you are dreaming in, those lanes of wonder, as long as you can take off the idea of limitations, go through the heart, this eternal central part of your being recognition with everything, and then expose it to the world. Just in your energy, whether you tell anybody else, whether you write it down, whether you actually go off and pattern something, that is up to you. But that is making such a powerful force, and that will quicken up this whole process that we have been speaking of. Quicken up the process into the golden age, into the paradigm where everything is so much easier. Would that not be nice to have an easy life?
Amazing celebration. Amazing. This is so amazing. So just to remind everybody, you can hear Zach is talking about wonder. And if I may use the word awe, the wonder and awe that sit right at the very core of eternal splendor, and therefore also live within our hearts. And that if we can cease worrying and move into wonder, not wander, but wonder. I think your wonderful dialect, Zach, had people thinking for a moment, should I be wandering or should I be wondering? The definition.
As long as they come out at the same thing,
Exactly.
we don't mind how they get there. You know what? Sometimes I do not work in the same time frame as all of you, so I can stop a little bit of time for myself, and I just go looking at people. I look at people while they're sleeping. I look at people while they're thinking. I look at people while they're loving. And it is like, I've said this before, I think, but like fireflies. This is the most beautiful thing for those who do not have physical bodies at this time to notice, because we have such respect that none of you know what is happening completely the next day. Yes, you might manifest your future, but you're not manifesting the next full 24 hours, 48 hours. That would be just so tiring. You're going about, and yet you light up. You do not know fully what tomorrow brings, and yet you are the spark in this universe. So we have great appreciation for all of you as well. Yes, we know your souls. Yes, we regularly converse with your souls who are wise to everything. But we look at these beautiful personalities. We look at the ways that you are being. And even if you've had a hard day, we get it. But we have to honor you for your place, because without all of you on earth, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen, of course. It takes the people for everything to change. Good.
This is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so the childlike innocence of wonder, joy, delight, awe, and in many ways, although we're earth beings and we're bound, seemingly bound, perhaps not the absolute most appropriate word to use, but we are fixed and we need to stay grounded. Otherwise, our physiology and our neurology become disturbed, as you so well know. So by becoming grounded, if we can play more, as our children do, the desire of creation and the eventual delight, celebration, wonder, awe, adoration of celebration is the thing that I seem to be receiving in this moment as the spark of divine consciousness, rather than actually what happens in 3D. It's fun that we see it materially, but it's actually about the pure joy that emanates from our hearts in that moment. This is the great unification of the cosmos, isn't it?
And this is the thing about being part of the earth. See the earth for supporting you. Watch to do this. If you do not have a garden, get a house plant. Take something living that comes from nature and love it. As you love it, you will feel not just that plant respond to you, but all of nature is connected. And so as you do this grounding, as well as you mentioned, so supportive. Grounding is literally connecting you to the earth, and the earth can be your most wonderful guide, your most wonderful companion. It has wisdom beyond imagining. And therefore, even just in these moments, as you say, whatever the reality is that you think you are seeing in this world, this union with this expansive planet that you are expanding with will take you leaps and bounds beyond wherever you are at this moment, wherever you are at, in that simple act of love with something of nature. Understand, yes?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Zach. It's so wonderful. I know that we could go on and on and on and on, but I'm also very aware of the fact that you're speaking through this very, very beautiful female vessel, and I don't want her to become taxed. And also, our time is coming gradually to a point of completion for this particular session, not for our lives. And so, if I may, I love us to go on and on, but if I may, I would very much like to send you our deepest, deepest love and the reverence of conviction within our hearts. The wondering that we're now going to be doing as we're moving into our dreams, both our daydreams and our night dreams, and ask if we may meet very soon again. Is that possible?
Of course. You don't think I pass up opportunity to talk?
Yes,
it is the best thing about coming back into body. I don't need to service this body. She has worked long and hard with me, and it pays off now. I can use her just as if she was my own. So yes, pleasure. Good, eh?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zach. We send you all our love.
Before we go, just one final thing. Be at peace, if you can, in your heart. Big ask, I know, but if you're going to be working on your heart, try to find the essence of peace, because then you'll have really got it. I leave you now. Goodbye, my dears. Goodbye.
Namaste.
Hello. Sorry, it's always very bright when I first come back.
Just take a moment to get used to the light. While you breathe deeply. So, ladies and gentlemen, Janet is now back. As we've just been through the most extraordinary experience. And Janet very, very kindly has been with us and has created a precedent, because she has never actually worked on this medium before by releasing herself and allowing Zach to come through. So I mean, a big thank you to you.
Well, yes, in a live way like this, and he seemed to love it, didn't he?
Yeah,
being live.
So many, you know, I'm feeling the management of our conversation, taking care of you, and not that I need to, because I know you can take care of yourself, but also managing the whole substance of what's happening in the chat box and so forth. And I apologize to you all for not saying, do you have any questions? Because you know, your comments in the chat box were always so alive. But at the same time, I knew that if I asked that question, we'd be sitting here for the next 4 weeks going through all of the questions. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to our point of departure. But on your behalf, I just want to thank Janet and, of course, the inimitable Zach, our cosmic being, for all of the wonderful energies that he's given us. It's been absolutely fantastic, a real blessing. So I would love to say to you, let's meet again very soon in another medium on this medium, but, you know, let's just keep our conversation going. It's been wonderful. So bless you, darling. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Just simply thank you to everyone that has been listening and receiving that transmission, because I know he transmits, and anyone that's watching a replay will still get that same transmission. And I know you put underneath, as well as my website, the Patreon website, yeah, where everyone can get a lot of free material of Zach chats, but also we have a membership where he does these exquisite meditations and deep dives. But I know you'll put that under there, so that's all good. That's there.
Yeah. Is there anything that's coming up immediately that you would like to tell everybody about? I mean, any workshop or channeling that you're doing?
It's actually worth mentioning that workshop-wise, I was so hoping to start them again this year. Zach has said the energy is just too turbulent at the moment to convert them online, because he does do an awful lot behind the scenes when he's teaching people to channel, and so not in person either, due to restrictions and things changing. So really, you know, there's a big emphasis on what we're putting out on Patreon. Hazel does it with so much love. We're doing epiphany talks, we're doing all sorts of things. And, you know, back in the summer, I've been, as you know, I'm sort of been in the inner circles for a long time, not put my head above the parapet. So this is a big thing for me doing this, but it's all good. And it's just been really fascinating, because in the summer he did sort of let slip that he was now going to really get me working. And there have been sort of lots and lots of wonderful things going on behind the scene. And so I would say, you know, sign up for my newsletter, because that's how people get to know, because I'm not on social media. Sorry, everybody, I'm not. But through that, and also through Patreon, check through Patreon, because there is so much there. Zach's wisdom and humor. I don't know how funny he was tonight, because I was listening, but he knows how to touch people, I think. Yeah. So if you're on that vibe, yeah, and it just ties in with like the work you do, Stewart. So right, so much, so big, huge gratitude for being here for that as well. And so I think he's tying now in with those who are singing from the same, is it song sheet? Trying to remember the expression.
Yeah, singing from the same song sheet. Yeah. I mean, there was one point about 2/3 of the way through that I really had to hold myself together, because I was very moved by the extraordinary vibration that he was bringing to us. And I was sort of allowing my own heart to become the furnace of it, to go zoom into the world. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I'll make sure that all of Janet's details are on the Deep Dialogue library of interviews, and particularly, you know, Ryan, my wonderful tech manager, will make sure that that this recording will go up immediately. Probably not tonight, because we're 9:30, nearly 9:45 in the United Kingdom. I know there are some of you who are on the Eastern Seaboard, or indeed the Pacific coastline, or in other hemispheres. Welcome, by the way. We're all in the north. But, you know, all of Janet's information will go up. And please, If you would like to hear more about the work that I'm doing, which is embracing the wonderment of what Zach is giving me and giving us, please do go to theangelsofatlantis.com. That's www.theangelsofatlantis.com. And you'll see on the homepage 2 wonderful orbs. One is gold, one is violet. There, Ryan's putting up on the screen. Just click on the golden orb and it will take you through to leaving your email address for newsletters. And I am going to New York next week, so I'm going to be putting up posts about things that I'm doing in the city, because there will be a book signing. If you're in New York, do come along to Barnes & Noble Midtown. I can't give you the address right now, but it will go up on the site. And indeed, on Sunday evening will be the Heart Spa. And of course, again, Zach has been talking to us about the nature of how we can furnace our hearts and really do some great housekeeping about in our hearts. So the Heart Spa is dedicated to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Janet, please stay where you are. And Ryan, if you can close the doors or the windows, that would be wonderful. Much love, everybody. Namaste, namaste.